In Warframe, there's a lot of weapons, so it's quite easy to miss some good ones. Bubonico happens to be one of those for me. I was not playing the game when the Bubonico released, so I didn't really know how good it was. But ever since I've been using it, I can tell you right now that this thing is easily a top 5 shotgun in the game. What's up guys, it's your boy Tyron, and in today's video I'll be covering the Bubonico, which is an infested shotgun arm cannon. Quite a mouthful there. I got 2 builds for you. One build for taking down Corpus, and another build for taking down everything else. I'm gonna keep this video short like I do all the other ones on my channel. If that's what you want to see, feel free to subscribe. Now the Bubonico has an alt fire. This alt fire shoots 3 times, taking 3 ammo per shot. These explosions on direct hit will have a chance to deal impact, but the explosion can only do viral damage. It's worth mentioning that these explosions have a great status chance and also a 7-meter blast radius. So if you want your teammates to love you, lock in Mirage and start spamming this everywhere. The bright color like mine. So with that out of the way, let's go look at the stats to see what this weapon has going for itself. So look at the stats on this weapon, we'll see that it has a nice crit chance of 25%. So it'll be a 100 munition build for the Grineer. It has a crit multi of 2.3, which is okay, and it also has toxin by default, so that'll also mess up the Corpus pretty well. Looking at the blast, we'll see that a 57% status chance, but only a 3% crit chance. So that alternate fire is basically here for only priming. So with just a bit of multi-shot and status chance, all enemies hit by the alt fire will have 10 stacks of viral, priming them perfectly whether for bleed or toxin. And one more thing to mention is that this weapon does not actually have a reload, it works off a battery. So that could be annoying for some people. It is 100% annoying for me. I cannot stand waiting for it to recharge. But the way that I think you're supposed to use this weapon is in tandem with a melee. So now you have the option to whether use it as a gun to shoot the primary fire, or you can also prime for your melee weapon or even the gun itself with the alt fire, putting it in a perfect spot of gun and blade. And here's the best build that you could be possibly using on this weapon if you were versing Corpus. Now I want to talk about the arcane. The reason I'm using dexterity, because one, that's all my base damage. I have no base damage in my build whatsoever other than my arcane. And like I said before, I think that this weapon needs to be used in tandem with a melee weapon. The way it's designed, having a battery that recharges and the alt fire that acts almost like a primer. So the way I believe it should be used is you hop on this weapon and you empty all 27 rounds, whether you were going to shoot this primary fire to kill enemies, or you can use alt fire to prime for your melee. Once you're out of ammo, you swap to your melee, chop them all up, and by the time you hop back on this weapon, you have your 27 charge and you rinse and repeat. And the rest of our build is pretty default, having galvanized hell for multi-shot, a bane mod to double dip our toxin procs, crit decel and primed ravage for our crit chance crit damage, shotgun barrage for our fire rate. The fire rate by default is a little poor. Now galvanized savvy is very important, and it's what makes this weapon a top 5 in my opinion. Galvanized savvy, the way it interacts on this weapon, it's multiplicative and not additive to base damage. So you can treat it like an eclipse. Now, we also have Toxin Barrage and Contagion Spread, because we want as much Toxin as possible to bypass their shields, and then yeah, we're good. The build is complete. Well, with the Corpus Build out of the way, we can now look at the Grineer. Now, something I also want to mention about the Bubonico is that it features 1.9 meters of punch through by default, which when on a map like me right here, the Kuva Fortress, so there's a lot of corridors, that comes in clutch. You are able to shoot down entire corridors of enemies because of this punch through, and it allows this thing to wave clear a lot better than a lot other single target shotguns. Here is the best build that you could be using for the Grineer. Now, the only difference really is taking out both the toxin mods for Hunter's Munition and Frigid Blast. The reason this is being done is so that we can make viral on our primary, and Hunter Munition is going to allow us to bleed. This is going to help us bypass that armor and deal true damage through the bleeds to eventually kill them all. Don't think I really need to explain how good Hunter Munition builds are. They've been ruling the game ever since the release of the mod. And yeah, that's that. Before I even talk about Rivens, this thing has a Riven disposition of 2. And in my Riven book, if it's below 3, it's not worth getting a Riven for. It needs to be 3 and above for me to actually even think about getting a Riven for it. So I wouldn't recommend getting a Riven for this, but a Riven can push you up to that guaranteed crit, because by default, with crit acceleration, you can only get up to 75% crit chance. And the difference between 75% crit chance and 100% crit chance is a very big gap in damage. But I'll leave that up to you. Well, everything I want to cover in this video, I believe I've covered. I've shown you the best build for Grineer. I've shown you the best build for Corpus. If you have a question about any of the stuff I've used in the videos, feel free to leave a comment. If you like the video, leave a like. If you don't. That being said, it's been your boy Tyrone. Peace out.